Today, I wanted to talk about a topic that affects quite a lot of people, and I haven't really addressed it. I've talked about self esteem, I've talked about healthy relationships, but I have never defined or talked about the topic of what codependency is or what codependency might look like. So, first, I wanted to start by defining codependency. Codependency is a condition that affects people who seek out relationships with people who they can fix or help. Often, codependents will seek out people with addictions, with mental health issues, with a history of violence or trauma. They can also seek out people who are underachievers or people who they might have to support in some way. Codependent people are usually healers of some sort, or they feel that they need to be healers or rescuers of the people that they choose relationships with. And so, what this means is that codependency turns into somewhat of a relationship addiction to saving, fixing, or helping people who may be unattainable. Codependents also sometimes get into relationships with people who are already in relationships or people who are emotionally unavailable and will never be able to be there for them in the way that the codependent might need. Codependents seek out these types of relationships because ultimately they are people who struggle with low self-esteem. They're quite often people pleasers. They have poor boundaries. They are reactive. And often they really are seeking out that if they can get this person to love them or care about them, that maybe they are worth it or they're worth something. And so that's where this really goes back to the idea of a codependent having low self-esteem and possibly having had really poor relationships modeled for them throughout their lives. Quite often, codependents have a history of trauma or abuse that affects them. And so this goes into their future relationships and kind of affects how they view what a relationship should look like or what it should be like. How codependency works like an addiction is that we are getting addicted to these extreme, tumultuous situations and relationships that don't really benefit our lives or our mental health, but kind of leave us on a roller coaster of dopamine and of feeling connected to someone through dysfunction. And I call that traumatic bonding. We bond with someone based on the trauma and the dysfunction that they bring into our lives and the chaos that quite often comes along with codependency. And if we can overcome this and learn how to create healthy boundaries, healthy relationships, then it is possible to overcome this dependence on codependency and relationships with people who we feel like we have to fix or somehow carry through our relationships and our lives. A great way to overcome dependency is to start putting yourself before you put other people in your lives. So, with an addict, they usually put a person or a substance or a thing always before their own well-being and their own actual needs. It's the same thing with codependency and even like sex addiction, that we are seeking out intimacy and love and care from other people. And in order to do this, we are overly people pleasing, we are overly accommodating towards quite often red flags or poor qualities that they exhibit. And we put them before ourselves in our lives and in our priorities. So to overcome codependency, we really have to learn some skills in assertiveness, in boundaries, and in also improving our self-esteem. We can then learn the value and worth that we have and what we bring to the table. I heard an amazing quote the other day, and it was that I know what I bring to the table, and therefore I'm not afraid to eat alone. And I think this is something that a codependent or someone who seeks out these codependent, emotionally unavailable relationships can really benefit from is knowing, what do you bring to the table as a person? What are the qualities that you have, and what are you looking for in a potential life partner or someone who can show you love and respect? Because those are the core elements of a healthy relationship and mutually beneficial interactions. So it means that you're not just with someone because you provide something for them, they also provide emotionally for you, or financially, or however it may be that the codependency usually works for you. So if you are a codependent, it doesn't mean that you can never change, but the first step to overcoming codependency is acknowledging that you do it. It's acknowledging that you seek out people who may not be available to you, and that you lower your standards, or that you set the bar lower for others than you would even set it for yourself. Because of sometimes the issues maybe you have with your low self-esteem, with poor modeling of relationships, all of the things I discussed earlier in this video. So if you have questions about codependency or boosting self-esteem, don't hesitate to click on my links below, download my free guide on self-esteem and anxiety, and I also have a paid course that you can access below as well. And I hope that you have an awesome week.